and in the future between digital, television, and where things are going. Great honor to be joined by Chris Wagner, the co-founder of New Line, building a global footprint in the digital video broadcasting and distribution world. In the sports and media industries, we understand, and it is diverse. You're one of the initial pioneers that co-founded the entity, but realized that the distinction between television and other mediums is really more blurry than people thought. When did you first have that epiphany, and how did you act on it?
Well, we started New Line in 2004, and the thesis of the company was how can we change the experience for consumers. We're techies, so we're a technology service company. When we started the company, we're a group of techies that really thought the internet could be a way of changing the experience for viewers. We started with video. We actually started with Islanders TV. My partner owned the New York Islanders hockey club, and we wanted to create an experience for Islanders fans that was different than television and was always on. So if you were a diehard Islanders fan, you could always see morning skate, or you could talk to a player through the internet, essentially always be connected. And that's how we got started. That was back in 2004, and lo and behold, here we are, and did 63,000 live events last year. So every year it just gets bigger.
All right, you got 30 seconds to describe each of the 63,000. Go.
It's a lot of sports, and if you're an NFL fan, an NBA fan, or a UFC fan, watching it on a connected device is totally different than television. It's very interactive. It's seamless across any kind of screen you have in front of you, and it allows you to experience those sports very differently than what you might be used to on your cable set-top box. So you mentioned your kids kind of know what I'm saying, but we've seen, fans gravitate to internet-connected devices, just more fun. There's more you can do with sports.
So the first world was break through and be noticed and understand the courage of your vertically integrated convictions. The next world was to identify the synergies between content and your backbone, I guess is a way to put it, which is the technology side of this, and your licensing deals with many more of the NFL, NBA, NCAA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 70% of the total revenues in 2015. What's the mix now? Is it the backbone and the content equal, or where are you going?
Well, we have three products. The first product you're talking about that generates 70% of the company's revenue is a New Line digital platform. And we work with people that own content rights. So NFL, we built a product for them called NFL Game Pass. So if you're interested in watching live NFL games, 2 TV channels, which is Red Zone and the NFL Network, you want live stats, you want to be able to go into the archive and rewatch this past Super Bowl over and over again, you can get that as a subscription. So a fan would find that product on NFL.com. They would click and sign up and use their credit card to buy a service called NFL Game Pass. And that complete service is powered by New Line. So we take all of the live game feeds right from the sports networks like Fox and others. We put them in all the right formats so you can watch it in HD or even 4K on an internet device. Then we help the NFL run their whole back office. So the ability to collect, charge consumers, package content, price content, make it available in 180 different countries around the world. We do that for them. And then we build all the apps. So the apps that you would find on a phone or on an Apple TV or on a smart television, also done by the New Line digital platform. So that's our big product. We also license to consumer electronic companies like Sony and LG a little 4K software player that they embed on their TV set. So when you buy a new Ultra HD TV from Best Buy or any retailer, everybody's buying Ultra HD TVs now, to do live streaming of 4K sports, which is 4 times HD, twice the frame rate. I mean, it's stunning. You feel like you're inside the arena. Our platform and our player on the set work together. That's our second product. And then the third product is just a group of technologies we license to help people with video compression, like Adobe and Microsoft and Apple. So as they look for ways to compress video and use the internet to transport it, they license our tech for that. Those are our three products.
and three pretty substantial products. And I guess from a business show perspective that is international, here's the Business Case 101 question that I've got. You mentioned all of those companies, and just the list is just beginning. All of the leagues like the NFL and NBA and NCAA and UFC, etc., Tennis Channel. But then you got Samsung and Sony and LG and Panasonic and Sharp, and then the other side of it, the Apple, Microsoft, and Dolby. How do you develop product that is agnostic enough where companies don't, after the first meeting, try to eat you up?
It's a good question. I mean, the answer gets a little techie, but if you think about Star Trek, right, and how Scotty would beam somebody up from the bridge down to a planet. We've been able to create a video technology that can compress video, break it up into all those little pieces, like my Star Trek analogy, push it over the public internet, and then reconstruct it on your phone, your computer, or on your TV, and do it in stunning quality. So it's less expensive to transport it over the internet, and the quality level, again, is better than cable or satellite. So that's one technology that's been the backbone of New Line, and then we've built things around it, how you would monetize the content. You talked at the beginning about the expanding costs of media rights, certainly sports rights. I think the cost of sports rights is exceeded, according to PricewaterhouseCoopers, the amount of tickets that get sold in an arena now. If you add up all the ticket sales, it's actually less than what media rights are. So how you monetize those media rights, connect with fans, get them to see commercials, see ads, subscribe with their credit card, buy a digital ticket online like we do with the UFC. The video quality, then that merchandising, are two really key things that we've been able to differentiate in the market.
And that's the other piece, clearly, is that you mentioned the Pricewaterhouse study, $20 billion, probably understated. But to go even further than that, about $6.5 billion in 2016 was video streaming, a 22% increase over last year. When do we blur the numbers where it's 50-50 and even more? First of all, when do the lines cross? And then B, when do we have a common measuring system that will take a game or an event and measure everybody that's watching in every way so advertisers can figure out what the real value is?
No, it's a great question. You have the Nielsen rating system that is working to take ratings on television and combine it with ratings on digital audiences, so they're actively pursuing it. You have companies like Adobe, ComScore, Google Analytics that are trying similar things. But it's a great question. How do you aggregate all that viewing time? Because even we've seen lots of stuff in the news lately about are people watching less sports on television, and I think the answer is they're not watching less sports, they're just watching it on more different kind of devices, so the audience is spreading out. So how do you aggregate that audience both on digital and broadcast so that you can monetize it with an advertiser? So there's some work being done there by the companies I've mentioned. From New Line's standpoint, it actually gets very, very specific and very pinpointed because we have all the watch data. So we know what people watch, what devices they prefer, what programs they like to watch more of, how long they watch those programs. And that data becomes invaluable to companies like UFC and others because they can use the data to really focus in on how do I find more subscribers, how do I use that data to make sure I don't lose the ones that I've got. So in the subscription business, it gets very analytical around lifetime value and managing churn. In the advertising business, like the point of your question, it's about how do I mass up all the audiences between TV and digital. I think that's coming.
When?
I don't have a good answer for you on when. I do know that we've just reached certification with Nielsen, so all of our streaming encoders are now certified by Nielsen. So Nielsen is doing some good work in being able to use their watermarking so that they can match up audiences, whether you're on a smartphone or watching it through your cable set-top box. So they've always been a leader in that space on the broadcast side. So It's happening now. Univision is another customer of ours. They're the fifth largest network in the United States. We do all their sports, entertainment, and news. They're a big Nielsen fan. They also want to be able to aggregate broadcast digital audiences into one. And again, this certification we have in Nielsen helps them do that.
Well, friends like Mark Lazarus and others who are, Sean McManus, who are at the front end of the quote-unquote television side, but transitioning to digital as well, want this to happen sooner than later, as we know. And I guess part of the question is, when I say when, it's not just when is the technology available, but when is it valid enough where Madison Avenue decides to quantify and give credit so the advertising dollars really reflect the eyeballs.
No, that's true, and I think there's a struggle also on the sales side on how you value that digital audience. The price you pay for advertising on digital, and how does that compare with the price that an advertiser may pay on broadcast television. But I mean, you've seen some non-broadcast companies with media rights like Netflix, Hulu, a lot of New Lions customers, like some of the ones that I've mentioned, really see an opportunity to connect directly with the consumer around a subscription model. So the subscription business is a big business. If you look at the over-the-top subscription number worldwide by 2019, is going to be a $100 billion business. So focusing on activating the subscriber is something that you can do now. So I don't discount the advertising business. You're right, the big networks have to figure that out. But a lot of these enthusiast networks that we have, like Professional Bowling or World Surf or Tennis Channel Plus or the Big Ten Network, right, are finding money connecting directly with their enthusiasts through these OTT services, and that's a monthly subscription.
And I guess long-term future of the industry, which nobody can predict, but you can maybe give some trends. What happens to the argument that sports is the ultimate reality television because nobody knows what the score is? If you go to sleep in the second half of the Super Bowl, you can testify to that. But the fact that your service allows prolific archiving so people can watch it over time, does that diminish or increase the value of this to advertisers and otherwise?
I don't think it diminishes it, but I think sports is probably the last appointment you're going to keep. I think the trends that we see, certainly with younger people, is all the programming is moving, more on demand. Appointment television is kind of going away, so you watch things on the screen you have in front of you, and you watch things whenever you want to watch them. So on-demand programming has also created an audience that's spreading out. Sports is different. To your point, you really don't want to know the score if you're following your favorite team. So you show up for the live event because it's only going to happen once. We see a big drop-off on usage after the live event in terms of, game replays and archives. We do a neat thing for the NFL called Snap to Whistle. So on Monday morning, you can go back to all the Sunday games and watch those games in 30 minutes. So we actually collapse the game, and we take out every huddle, every penalty, every stoppage of play. So it's snap, whistle, snap, whistle, snap, whistle. So if you're a Redskins fan like me and you're in the New York market and you couldn't watch it, Monday I can watch it in 30 minutes. Even though I know the score, we just changed the way we deliver it. So that's the reason why sports rights are so expensive, because it is the last appointment you're going to keep. And watching it live is much preferred than watching it replayed.
And it's good psychologically for you Redskin fans because you can confine your disappointment to a 30-second increment. Congratulations to you.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, they did a little bit better this year.
Look, let's not talk about Jay Gruden. We can do that another day, okay? That would be fine. And RG3, we can also do that.
So I shouldn't sing Hail to the Redskins on this podcast.
Could,
probably
but you'll be long cut off. After the second bar, you'll be long cut off, and nobody can hear it. I don't care where you think you archive it. So the final kind of issue on this is, as one of the smartest guys in the room with the smartest company in the room, do you feel excessively challenged by the confusing maelstrom that is the combination of media rights today and the technology platforms? Back in a simpler day, I guess more people could participate because it required less entrepreneurial skills to navigate. I assume things are much more challenging today, but you also get more rewarded. How do you feel about all that?
Well, media rights are, from a fan perspective, just explaining NFL media rights and where to watch the game at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock or Sunday night or Monday evening. I mean, you have to get trained to figure out where to go. So blackouts, fans really don't like. What channel is it on? Fans really don't like. What website do I go to find the app? Fox is different than CBS. It's different than NBC. So sports rights are very expensive. There's nobody can afford to buy them all. Just buy all the NBA or NFL rights is a pretty big number. The fragmentation creates challenges for the viewer to find the game. But from a technology standpoint, the world's gotten flat with the internet. So being able to deliver a UFC fight in 200 countries, take a local currency, handle a local payment, connect directly with the viewer, the tech has made that simpler. But you're right, the fragmentation of sports and where to find it, New Lion's not curing that, but we certainly are making it easier to deliver the event.
New Line may not be curing that, but they're curing a whole lot of other things. Chris Wagner, co-founder of New Line, thanks for everything and all you do in the industry. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the time.